Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unpontificated. And today we're going to look at an interview that Pierre Poilievre did with Rosemary Barton on Rosemary Barton Live. I think this is one of Pierre's best moments as a opposition leader, as a leader of the Conservatives. He was just spitting facts. You'll see here Rosemary Barton trying to defend Mark Carney's dismal results to date. I've said in a previous interview, I'm going to give Mark Carney a year. I'll give him a year. Come April 28th, 2026, if this guy, excuse me, if this guy is still showing Canada is failing abysmally, that these investments, big spending, he's calling it investments in Canada, is not producing any results, then you know what, guys, this is over. Let's just call it a day. Let's go to an election and let's get Pierre in there. Because what have we got to lose? If you think Pierre doesn't have it, that he's not the one for the time, well, we would have just shown that Mark Carney is not the one for the time either, for the times in Canada right now. But he's pushing this budget. He's saying the budget is for this time in Canada. We need to spend big. Okay. We'll see. Spend big. We'll see if this does bring investment into the country. Because right now, 7 months in, it ain't happening. But let's look at this interview, and you'll see what I mean when I say Pierre is in top form. Top form.
I sat down with the leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, in an exclusive interview ahead of Tuesday's federal budget. Pierre Poilievre is, of course, the leader of the official opposition. He joins me in studio. Nice to see you, Mr. Poilievre.
It's good to be with you.
Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
I want to move on to the budget, because that is, of course, sort of the concern and the focus of the week ahead. That you have criticized the Prime Minister for saying that sacrifices are going to be needed by Canadians. You have also said the deficit must stay at $42 billion. How do you keep the deficit at $42 billion and not make sacrifices and not ask Canadians to make sacrifices?
Well, I think it's a false juxtaposition because the deficit is causing the sacrifices. The more the government spends, the more things cost. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. These deficits are raising the prices that people pay in real time. It's called inflation, and we know that the source of inflation is when government prints money to spend what it does not have. This bids up the price of goods, and it's why. It's no coincidence that during the time the Liberals doubled the national debt, they also doubled housing costs and doubled lineups at food banks.
So except some of the things that will be in the budget will be for housing to help Canadians. That is what they are proposing to do to help Canadians in this moment.
But with every dollar they spend comes from Canadians. And so they remember Justin Trudeau and the previous Liberal government launched a bunch of expensive housing programs saying it would help. It doubled housing costs. They announced food programs. Well, they doubled food bank lineups. So the more government spends, the more it drives up the cost of living. We can't have a costly budget that makes life more costly for the Canadian people. We want them to keep their promise. It was only a year ago that Liberals said they would keep the deficit down to $41 billion. Now, Mark.
Now remember, before that, let me get Pierre Poilievre off this. Look, he looks funny there.
Carney was a.
That looks better. Okay, Justin Trudeau is going to be a small deficit, $10 billion of investment, right? It ballooned to $19 billion by the time the 2019 election came along. Of course, the 2021 came along, we're into COVID, and it was just a mess. And then when Chrystia Freeland resigned, it was up to $42 billion. So all Pierre is saying, okay, look, you guys caused this mess. We're going to go with $42 billion. He'd rather have zero. Everyone wants to have a zero deficit. That's what we want. We want a surplus, please. But we can't just go to surplus without causing a ruckus. So $42 billion, we'll keep it there because that's where you brought us to. And that's all Pierre is saying. So that's it. But yes, if you print money, you're going to cause inflation. You're going to spend, so you got to print money you don't have, that causes inflation. I mean, there's other things that can cause inflation as well. Global interests, price of oil may go up because there's not enough, because they want to boost the price of oil. So that can cause inflation, but you can remove the oil prices and see what's going on as well with inflation. Anyway.
Elected, saying he would spend less. And since that time, his deficit spending is 100% more.
But that his reasoning, what he will tell Canadians on Tuesday, is that he's investing. It's meant to spur investment in the Canadian economy.
And I hate that word when it's used wrongly. Investing, the way these politicians use it, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Things like defense, housing, as I said, industries dealing with tariffs. What of those things do you not agree with? Because he believes that investment will actually attract private capital and will force the economy to sort of rebuild in the face of Donald Trump.
Pierre isn't laughing right now.
It seems like a familiar line because it's exactly what the Liberals promised in 2015, 10 years ago, when they ran on producing small temporary deficits that would invest. Mm-hmm. And what happened? They doubled the national debt. And what happened to investment? It dropped more than any time in Canadian history and more than any other G7 country. Deficits are not investments. They reduce investments because they borrow money out of the economy that would otherwise have been invested in productive private enterprises, factories, mines, pipelines, LNG plants. So when government borrows, it actually subtracts from the economy by sucking up capital that would have been used for productive purposes. So if one investment, there's only one thing the government needs to do: get out of the way. There are
yeah, guys, just wanted to show you. I looked at this chart here. This is by Macro Trends, and this is investment into Canada as a percent of GDP. You can see here in 2000, now this was a Liberal government, Jean Chrétien, was when we had our highest percent of investment into Canada. This is direct investment into Canada. As a percent of GDP was in 2000. In 2008, we had another spike. So you can call this a spike. We had another spike in 2008. This is when Harper came into power. And then, here he's doing some good stuff. People actually think, believe that Canada is a good place to invest. And then 2015, and then 2015, who came into power? Our friend Justin Trudeau. And then we had a drop, and it was just a constant drop. This is COVID, but then, back to the normal drop, and then it's been dropping 2023 down, right? So you can see that we did have some spikes, but in general, Harper was bringing investment in, Trudeau, investment was dropping out. Why? Now, I kind of looked in 2000, I typed in, why was foreign direct investment in Canada so high? And there's a bunch of reasons. The major one being, this is Google AI. A high level of foreign direct investment in Canada in 2000 was primarily due to a global surge in cross-border mergers and acquisitions. Most notably, a single very large European acquisition of a prominent Canadian company, Seagram Company Limited, and a strong Canadian economy at the time. So we had a strong economy. There was the mergers and acquisitions by Vivendi, strong economic conditions. Canada experienced solid and consistent economic growth in 2000 with robust GDP increases and healthy growth in business investment, which made it an attractive location for foreign investors. So at the turn of the century, Canada was doing quite well in terms of people believing that Canada is a good place to invest. And what were they mainly investing in? Foreign capital was heavily directed towards the manufacturing and mining and oil and gas extraction sectors. The high-tech sector also saw a peak in M&A activity, with many deals financed by share exchanges. The oil and gas sector, in particular, was booming due to the high energy prices, strong US demand, attracting significant capital investment. Oil and gas, right? And then we had sound fiscal monetary policy. Canada had achieved 3 consecutive budget surpluses by 2000, and low inflation helped keep the interest rates down. This provided a stable and favorable business environment for both domestic and foreign investors. So people believed that Canada was a good place to invest. You see here, we had a drop in 2017, really low. Why? Well, Google Eyes says the drop in foreign direct investment in Canada in 2017 was primarily due to large-scale asset sales in the energy sector by foreign investors to Canadian companies, a general decline in global FDI flows, so there was also a global decline, and a perceived decrease in Canada's investment competitiveness relatively due to the US. So people believed that Canada was no longer competitive, at least it was a decreased competitiveness relative to the US. So they're going to go invest in the US then. In 2017, who was president of the US? Donald J. Trump, right? So key factors to the drop in FDI in Canada. 1, Justin Trudeau became the prime minister. 2, I'm just saying that. The most significant technical reason was 2 major transactions in the oil and gas extraction sector, where US and European companies, ConocoPhillips and Royal Dutch Shell, sold substantial oil sands assets to Canadian firms. These transactions resulted in a large outflow of capital that canceled out significant income flows in the official stats, making the net FDI appear much lower than the actual amount of new investment that year. Well, you say made it appear it was lower, right? Increased FDI from Canada. At the same time, Canadian direct investment abroad reached a record high, meaning Canadians were investing more in other countries than foreign entities were investing in Canada, contributing to a negative balance for the year. So even Canadians in their own country. So Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government were giving Canadians a sense that, it's not good for us to invest here, man. Our money is not doing well in our own country. There's just too much, look at this, regulatory environment. Canada consistently ranked poorly on the OECD's FDI Regulatory Restrictiveness Index due to restrictions in certain sectors, like media, fisheries, and communications, and a complex screening process through the Investment Canada Act. You got to get rid of the red tape. Get rid of these silly laws, 69, and get us back on track. It's actually, we know what to do, but for some reason, we're just not doing it.
Trillions of dollars of private investment ready to dig mines, build pipelines, set up LNG plants, build ports. We know that that money exists because they're doing it in other countries around the world where there is fast approvals, less red tape, low taxes. They get private sector investment, and that's what we want to watch.
But by that explanation, by that rationale, why would you accept a $42 billion deficit? Sean Spears, who was the economic advisor to your former boss, recently said on The Hub, that is a massive shift for a conservative to actually even fathom a $42 billion deficit. Why say that's okay?
It's not okay.
But you're willing to accept it, you're saying.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
It is, but
what choice does he have?
It is the disastrous state we're in after 10 years of Liberal government. We have a situation where it is impossible this fiscal year, because Mr. Carney, maybe if he had introduced the budget at the beginning of the fiscal year like most normal, competent prime ministers would have done, and which all prime ministers used to do, we could have affected the deficit. But, Rosie, the half to 2/3 of the fiscal year is behind us. The money's already spent.
Sure.
So I would be lying to people if I said that I owned a time machine that would allow me to go back and unspend money that Mark Carney has been spending for the last seven months.
Guys, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe and share so we can get this content out to more people. And now back to the show.
I would like a zero deficit, but the Liberals have put us in this mess, and I work with what I got.
So you are not going to support the budget. There's no way you could do that. You can't lose an election, say Mark Carney's the worst, and then support the budget. That's not possible. Right?
Oh, well, I haven't seen the budget. I haven't seen the budget. I don't have telepathic powers to tell you what's in it. If it were to bring down the cost of living, an affordable budget for an affordable living is something that I support.
None of these things are, you know what the deficit's going to be. On that premise alone, I don't imagine you can support the budget.
But in addition to the deficit, I came up with some very collaborative ideas. And I asked, why isn't the government at least considering them? I've said, let's bring down the cost of food by getting rid of the industrial carbon tax on farmers and the people who feed us. Let's get rid of the food packaging tax that adds $1 billion to food prices. The fuel standard tax that's going to jack up gas prices 17 cents. Get rid of all that, and that would make food more affordable for the 2.2 million people lined up at food banks. And if the government were in a collaborative mode, recognizing they only have a minority, they would accept my ideas for an affordable budget for an affordable Canada.
Are you prepared to have an election if that's where we end up?
I'm prepared for an affordable budget. That's what I want the government to introduce. And I'm not going to speak about the plans thereafter because I haven't seen it. But we're not going to. We don't believe that the choice has to be as the Liberals presented, which is between a costly budget and a costly election. You can have an affordable budget, and I've given Mr. Carney a plan for that. All he has to do is accept it.
President Trump said again that talks are not going to be restarted with Canada. Should Canada offer further concessions, or is at this stage no deal better than a bad deal?
Well, why again are we choosing between two terrible options when we were promised, Mr. Carney promised a good deal by July 21st. He promised he could negotiate a win with President Trump. Those were his promises. Now, some might say, look, it's unrealistic to expect to get that from President Trump. So why did he promise it?
Well,
it was not his only, it wasn't just that it was a promise. It was the promise.
Except you promised, when you were running to be Prime Minister, that tariffs would be paused across the board and that you would get a deal with Donald Trump with tariffs paused. I mean, that also doesn't seem very plausible given the way the president has behaved.
Well, I have to be Prime Minister for you to find out.
Well,
right? But what we do know is that Mr. Carney is Prime Minister, has been for 7 months, and these are the results that he's got. Since he promised to get rid of American tariffs, they've doubled and tripled in the case of softwood lumber. He says he's going to open up other markets, so he meets with the Chinese. And what do? They increase tariffs on canola, seafood, and pork. He meets with the Indians. What do? Increase tariffs on our peas by 30%. He meets with the Brits. What do? They hit us with blockades of our beef. It seems like everywhere Mark Carney goes, with these grand meetings and photo ops, we end up with more tariffs. His failures abroad are costing us at home.
He met with the Chinese president, though, and they made a decision that their officials were going to get together and try and solve the trade irritants. He is trying to make some progress, no? You don't see those things as a bit of progress?
What progress? Can you name
more meetings, more meetings? That's one thing that I got it. Mark Carney has done a lot of traveling. He's done a ton of meetings. We've seen nothing for them yet. Nothing. So yeah, so tomorrow there's a budget. We'll see. But these meetings, come on, man. Come on, man.
One tariff line that he's reduced abroad?
Not at this stage, no.
Not one.
No.
He said 7 months.
So what would
He's been on 20 trips.
What would you like to see him do then? What do you think is the missing piece here?
Wait, let's see that again.
What progress? Can you name one tariff line that he's reduced abroad?
Not at this stage, no.
Not one. He said 7 months.
So what would
He's been on 20 trips.
What would you like?
I gotta give Rosemary, at least she admitted it. Not one, guys. And people out there are giving this guy, give him a chance. Okay, I bit the bullet. I'm giving him a chance, but my goodness.
Like to see him do then? What do you think is the missing piece here?
Keep his promise.
Yeah, but how? It's easy to say that. It's the how that's difficult.
Well, the how, I said that I would face President Trump and the rest of the world from a position of strength. Right now, we're in a position of weakness. The Americans know we can't sell our goods to anyone else because we don't have pipelines and LNG plants to get our most valuable export to other markets. I would pass the Canadian Sovereignty Act, which would rapidly greenlight and legalize pipelines, LNG plants, and other infrastructure.
But the government is doing some of that. There's an LNG plant that's happening. There are
Approved
major
by
projects.
Stephen Harper.
Well, there's an expansion of it. There's an expansion of it.
Yeah, guys, the LNG plant in Kitimat was started in 2011. Okay, so let's get a little bit of some facts out there, yeah. So Carney is kind of reaping the benefits of this thing that has been in the pipeline for a while. It's not him. He didn't do anything.
And the Major Projects Office, it does allow them to get around laws and regulations. You know, that's the goal of it.
That's the goal. We're 7 months in, and the clock is ticking. I think we've been through enough goal setting, and now it's time for results achieved, and we're not getting any results. Mr. Carney won't even tell us if he supports an oil pipeline to the Pacific. His energy minister says it's just too hypothetical. What do you mean hypothetical? We had a project that was approved prior to the Liberals taking office. So here we are with no progress on expanding our resources or getting things done. It's all very good that he's setting up these offices and agencies in Ottawa, but I've got news for him. We're not going to make our economy economically independent by setting up new bureaucracies in Ottawa.
I want to ask you about leadership, because I know that it's probably on your mind. You have a leadership review coming up in January. How confident are you that you will be okay, that you will survive that vote?
Very.
Yeah. Why? What makes you confident?
Well, because I'm going to focus on doing my job. And people say, well, you're going to get distracted with this. And the answer is no, because the same thing I have to do in January is what I have to do on Election Day, which is to do a good job.
Yeah.
And that means doing what I was sent here to do by the record 8.3 million people who voted for us, which is to fight for an affordable life, fight for our young people to be able to afford homes, fight for parents to be able to have safe streets for their kids to grow up on. And that's the job I'm doing, and that's why I believe I'll win the support of both the party and the country.
And you think that the party will be willing to give you a second chance? Because the last time they did that was Stephen Harper.
And look how that turned out.
Yeah,
we
that's
were in
right.
power for 10 years. So
but do you think
I'm
that
glad you pointed that one out.
Do you think that they'll be willing to give you a second chance, Mr. Poilievre?
I think so. I'm fighting for the things that our party and our country need. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about our party is we're united around the things that we believe in and are fighting for. We want balanced budgets and low taxes so people can afford good lives. We want to lock up criminals so that our people are safe. We want to get immigration and borders back under control. We want a common Canadian identity that unites us all. We want to bring back the promise of this country, that anyone who works hard gets a great life. And so the great thing I have, the benefit I have, is a party whose values and interests are aligned with the country's. And that's why I think both January and the next election will go in the right direction.
Listen, really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so great interview. I thought it was really great. Hey, Pierre Poilievre has got my vote. I'll just let you guys know that right now. And I think you should have yours, should we go to an election. I don't think we're going to go to an election in soon. I don't think we're going to have a Christmas election, as they like to, as they decided to brand it as, to get everybody up in arms. A Christmas election. So anyway, I think somehow this budget will pass, somehow, and then we'll see. And then the true test of Mark Carney's leadership will really begin now, because we have a budget. If we're now going to go and spend and have $100 billion deficit, and this does not result in lower food prices, this does not allow in more direct investment into Canada, because that's really what we need. It's not spending of our own money as an investment. We need foreign money to come in and invest in Canada and build projects, create jobs, and all of that. That's what we need. And that's what left Canada. And as you saw there, not like direct investment, foreign investment left Canada, but also Canadians are not investing in Canada, because, I mean, do you want your money to, you want to lose money, or do you want to make money? So, okay, let the budget begin this November 5th. this budget passes, I don't know when the vote's going to be, but if it passes, Carney, the clock is ticking. Clock is ticking, buddy. And let's see what you got. Because you promised a lot. You promised us good stuff. You promised you were the man. So far, we're not seeing you as the man. So we'll see. All right, guys. Put some comments down there. Let's interact. Let's talk. Let's talk this out. And I'm interested to know what you think. I'll see you guys next time.